Hello everyone and welcome to the biology lecture series, and today we'll be discussing the topic reproduction. So in the previous lecture we have discussed about the reproduction. I've given you a brief introduction about the reproduction, and then we studied about the types of reproduction. Alright, and then we studied about the reproduction in the flowering plants, where we studied about the different components or different whorls of the flower. Okay, then we also solved some of the questions that are related to these topics, and in this session we'll be studying about the reproduction in the humans. Okay, how sexual reproduction occurs in humans. The humans are complex organisms, they are higher organisms, and usually in the higher organism and in vertebrates, sexual reproduction occurs. Whereas the asexual reproduction, it occurs in the simpler form or the primitive form, such as the protozoans, okay, or you can say the bacteria. Now let me introduce you to this topic in sexual reproduction in the humans. So mammals, mammals, they are unisexual, means they have only one reproductive structure. Okay, so we have males as well as the females. So both of them are unisexual, means the male will have the male reproductive organ and the females will have the female reproductive organ. Clear? And some organisms, they are bisexual. So these bisexual organisms, they contain both the type of reproductive organs. But mammals, usually they are unisexual. Now the reproductive system of each organism consists of many reproductive organs. Okay, so a lot of reproductive organs are involved. Some are primary reproductive organ and some are secondary or accessory reproductive organs. So we can write here, one is the primary reproductive organ. Okay, other ones are the secondary or the accessory reproductive organs. Now both of these, secondary as well as the primary reproductive organs, these, okay, so these, they have different roles. So primary reproductive organ, these are basically involved in the formation of the sperms as well as the egg. Okay, they are involved in the formation of the gametes, whereas secondary reproductive organs, they are not involved, or you can say directly in the formation of the gametes, but they do some other roles. And we'll talk about both of these in the upcoming slides. Now, these reproductive organs can be primary sex organs or secondary sex organs. The primary sex organs, they are generally known as the gonads. So what is the role of the gonads? Gonads, they produce the gametes. So within the gonads, gametes are produced. And the phenomena of formation of the gametes or the production of gametes, this is known as gametogenesis. So you can say gametogenesis or the production of gametes, they take place in the gonads. Clear? The next is, they produce sex cells or the gametes and also secrete sex hormones. Okay, so sex hormones. Okay, what kind of sex hormones? So examples can be estrogen, and another example can be testosterone. Okay, estrogen is present in usually in females. Testosterone, you can say it is a male hormone. Okay, so these gonads, they produce sex cells known as the gametes. What are gametes? If we talk about the male, so it is sperm. So this is the male gamete. And what is the female gamete? Female gamete is the egg. Okay, which is represented by this. Okay, this is female. Clear? Now the gonads of the males, they are known as the testes, which produce the sperm, while the gonad of the females, they are known as ovaries, and they produce ova or the female gametes, or you can say the egg. They produce the ova or the egg, and these sperms as well as the ova, which are the gametes, all right, these are usually haploid. Okay, these are haploid, and why they are haploid? because they are produced by the process known as meiosis. Clear? So that's why they are haploid. Now, let's talk about the secondary sex organs. So secondary sex organs, they include the reproductive ducts. Okay, and what is the role of reproductive ducts? They transport the gametes. Now, another one is the reproductive glands, which help in the process of reproduction. Clear? So, the secondary sex organs, okay, they include these reproductive ducts as well as the reproductive glands. Now, if we talk about the secondary sex organs in males, these are vasa efferentia, epididymis, seminal vesicle, ejaculatory duct, and the urethra. And if we talk about the females, these are fallopian tubes. This is uterus, vagina, as well as the mammary glands. So these are the secondary sex organs in females. We'll talk about all of these in detail in the upcoming slides. Now, what are accessory or external sex characters? Okay, so the secondary sex characteristic, these are the physical features that develop during the puberty. Alright, and are associated with sexual maturity but are not directly involved in the reproduction. Clear? So this is how you can define the secondary sexual characteristic. Okay, now these help to distinguish the two sexes, which are the male and the female, okay, of a species externally. So we can differentiate, okay, this is the male and this one is the female, depending on this secondary sexual characteristic. That's why we call them as the physical features. Okay, these are physical features which helps us to distinguish the two sexes, and they are developed during the puberty. Okay, this is clear. Now, what are these secondary sexual characteristics? If we talk about the male, it is the muscular body, more height, low pitched voice, and the mustache. Okay, so you can differentiate. So these features will be present in the males. And if we talk about the females, females have high pitched voice, they have breast development and lateral pubic hairs also. Okay, so these are the secondary pubic hairs are present in males also. So these are the secondary sexual characteristics that helps us to differentiate between the male as well as the females. Now, we were talking about the term puberty. How can you define the puberty? So puberty is the period of physiological and psychological development during which a child matures into sexual and the reproductive adulthood. Okay, and beginning of the sexual maturity is known as puberty. So simply you can define puberty how? Beginning of the sexual maturity, this is known as puberty. And there is a lot of physiological as well as psychological development, okay, as the child is maturing, okay, into sexual and so the child is maturing into and it is entering into the reproductive phase. So this is known as the puberty. It is maturing sexually. Now, at puberty or at this stage, the primary sex organ, they start functioning. And the secondary sex organs, they develop fully under the influence of sex hormones. Okay, sex hormones I've already told you, such as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And these sex hormones, these are produced by the primary sex organs. Okay, so what are the role of primary sex organs? Production of gametes as well as the production of the hormones. And these sex hormones, they then influence this secondary sex organs. Okay, now in the stage of the puberty, body growth is very rapid. So there is very rapid growth. And it occurs at the age of 10 to 14 years in the girls and 13 to 15 years in the boys. So you can see the females, they achieve puberty quite earlier. Okay, and the males, they achieve puberty a bit later than the females or the girls. Clear? Now let's talk about the male reproductive system first. So this is an image showing you the male reproductive system. So first of all, we have to just remember all these terms. Okay, so you should remember. So you can see scrotum is present here. Here is the testes. Okay, so these are the major terms you should remember: vasa deferens. Okay, now this one, penis. Okay, urethra is present here. This one, this gland is also very important. This is a secondary sex organ. Okay, all these, urinary bladder you can see, which stores the urine. Okay, vasa, this deferens, this is also very important. Seminal vesicle, I've told you it is also a secondary sex organ. All right, ejaculatory duct, all these are important. So first I'm showing you the image of the male reproductive system. So now you know the location of all these organs, secondary sexual organs. Okay, so this is the male reproductive system. Now we'll talk about all of these terms individually. Clear? So the male reproductive system, it comprises of what? It comprises of the testes, scrotum and the vasa efferent. So these are the three parts of the male reproductive system. Okay, and the other parts are epididymis, vasa deferens, okay, ejaculatory duct, urethra, accessory sex glands, penis. So all this structure we have seen in that image. All right, so these were the parts of the male reproductive system. Now let's talk about the testes first. Okay, so testes, these are soft, smooth, pinkish and oval organs. Okay, and they are present in a sac-like structure known as the scrotum. So scrotum is a sac-like structure in which the testes are present. Now the outer covering is known as the tunica vaginalis. All right, and the inner covering, it is known as the tunica albuginea. The ingrowth of tunica albuginea, this is known as the septa, that divide the testes into 200 to 300 lobules. This is clear? Now this is the longitudinal section of the mammalian testes. Means this is the LS of the mammalian testes. Okay, so this is the testes, you can see it is an oval structure. Okay, here this is the layer tunica albuginea. Okay, here you can see the septa here, which divides the testes into lobules. Here is the vasa deferens, vasa efferentia. You can see the retitestes, seminiferous tubules, as well as the epididymis. So these are the part of the reproductive system we have already discussed. Okay, now we'll talk about all of these terms also. Clear? Now, this also consists of the convoluted seminiferous tubules. So in the diagram, you can see the seminiferous tubules, and these seminiferous tubules, okay, at one end join to form the tubules, which open into a network of irregular cavities known as retitestes. So in the image, I've shown you this retitestes. Clear? Now, the retitestes comes out from a dorsal surface of the testis with the help of vasa efferentia. Clear? And this vasa efferentia, it combines to form a single tube, which becomes highly coiled and form the epididymis. Clear? Now, this vasa efferentia, it combines to form a single tube, which becomes highly coiled and form the epididymis, which this we have already studied. Now, the epididymis, it opens into a narrow tube known as the vasa deferens, okay, or vas deferens. Now, the seminiferous tubules from the spermatogenic tissue of the testes. Okay, clear? So this form the spermatogenic tissue of the testes, and it consists of germinal epithelial layer at the periphery. Okay, now spermatogenesis occurs at the center. We'll talk about spermatogenesis also. So first you have to remember germinal epithelial layer. This is present in the at the periphery, and due to the meiosis in these germinal cells. Okay, so meiosis takes place in the germ cells, and these cells are involved in the formation of gametes. Now, this forms the spermatogonia. Okay, so first the spermatogonia is formed from the germinal layers, okay, which grows and forms the spermatocytes. Okay, so from the spermatogonia, spermatocytes are formed, which further grows to form the primary spermatocytes. Okay, now these primary spermatocytes, these undergo meiosis. Meiosis means these undergo reductional division. So what happens during the reductional division? Okay, there is a reduction in the set of chromosomes. Clear? So if initially the organism was diploid, it will be converted into haploid. So these primary spermatocytes, they undergo meiosis to form the secondary spermatocytes, and then from the secondary spermatocytes, spermatids are formed. Okay, now the spermatids, they metamorphosize into spermatozoa. Clear? So what is happening here? From the germinal cells, what is happening? First, a spermatogonia is formed. From the spermatogonia, what is formed? Spermatocytes. From spermatocytes, what is happening? There is a formation of the primary spermatocytes. Okay, then what is forming? So meiosis takes place, or you can say the primary spermatocyte, they undergo meiosis and they form the secondary spermatocytes. Clear? Now what happens? The secondary spermatocytes, they form the spermatids, and the spermatids, they finally metamorphosize into spermatozoa. Clear? Now the process of formation of spermatozoa. Okay, from spermatogonia, this is known as spermatogenesis. So you should remember this term. What is spermatogenesis? Okay, so it is the formation. So we have seen spermatozoa was formed, and from the spermatozoa, okay, what was formed? In the end, you can say spermatozoa is formed. So the process of formation of spermatozoa from spermatogonia. So initially spermatogonia was formed, and from the spermatogonia, in the end, spermatozoa is formed, and this process is known as spermatogenesis. So we are talking about the formation of the production of the sperms. Now these spermatozoa, okay, they are nourished during the development by the nerve cells. So there are some cells present there known as the nerve cells, which provide nourishment to this spermatozoa. Clear? So this is the process known as spermatogenesis. So this is a flowchart showing you the process of spermatogenesis. Okay, so initially there was an epithelial layer in which the germinal cells were present. Okay, and what kind of cells these are? These are the cuboidal cells. Okay, the shape of the cells are cuboidal, and they undergo mitosis, which is known as the equational division. Okay, this is known as the equational division. So these epithelial layers or these cells here, these are all diploid initially. Means they contain two sets of the chromosome. Here, by mitosis in these cells, in the germinal cells, first spermatogonia is formed. So spermatogonia, this will be again diploid only because they are formed by mitosis. Then spermatogonia, it grows and it forms the primary spermatocytes. So these primary spermatocytes, these are also diploid. Then this primary spermatocyte, they undergo meiosis to form the secondary spermatocytes. Means they here the okay. So the secondary spermatocyte will be haploid, means they contain 23 chromosomes. So all these epithelial layer cells, which are germinal cells, they contain 46 chromosomes. Okay. So if we are talking about the humans, so the diploid cell will contain 46 chromosomes. Whereas if the cell is haploid, then it will contain 23 chromosomes. This is clear. So we can write here secondary spermatocyte. These will be haploid, means they contain 23 chromosomes. Now the secondary spermatocytes, they form spermatid first, and the spermatid, they metamorphosize into spermatozoa. Okay, and there are some nerve cells which helps in the nourishment of this spermatozoa. So this is the process, okay, or this is the flow chart showing you the process of spermatogenesis. So at the end of spermatogenesis, spermatozoa is formed, okay, which will form the sperm cells, which are the male gametes. Now, in between the seminiferous tubules, they are interstitial cells. So, if someone asks you where are the interstitial cells present, they are present in the seminiferous tubules. Okay, so these interstitial cells, they are known as the Leydig cells, and they secrete the male hormones known as the testosterone. So testosterone, these are secreted by the interstitial cells that are known as the Leydig cells, okay, which are present in between the seminiferous tubules. And what is the role of this interstitial cells or the Leydig cells? They secrete the male hormone testosterone. Now, testosterone helps in the growth and the development of the male sex, you can say, characteristic. Clear? You can write they help in the development of male characters, okay, or they give male characteristic to the boys or the male organism. Now next part was scrotum. What is scrotum? It is a pouch of pigmented skin arising from the lower abdominal wall and hanging between the legs. Now it is divided internally into two compartments by a muscular partition known as the septum scroti. Now the scrotum possesses smooth involuntary dortus muscles. So the muscles present in the scrotums, these are involuntary, means they are not under our control, and name of these muscles are dortus muscles. Okay, dortus muscles. Now the scrotum sac, it is connected to the abdominal cavity through a canal known as the inguinal canal. Clear? Now what is the function of the dortus muscles? So this dortus muscles, okay, the function of this muscle is to change the position of the testes to keep them at the proper temperature. So this maintenance of this proper temperature, this is very much essential. This is quite important for the viability of the sperms also and production of the sperms also. Okay, you can say viability of the sperms as well as the production also. This is clear. Now the scrotum has a temperature which is 1 to 3 degrees Celsius lower than the body temperature. So body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. This is the normal body temperature. Okay. So the temperature of the scrotum is 1 to 3 degrees less than this body temperature, and this favors the formation of the sperms. Clear? That's why it is very important to maintain the temperature of the scrotum. Now let's talk about the duct system now. Okay, so the duct system of the male reproductive organs, it consists of several structures. Okay, and these structures, they play an essential role in the transport as well as the delivery of the sperm from the testis to the exterior of the body. Okay, so this duct system is also very important for the transport and the delivery of the sperms. Now, one of them is the vasa efferentia. So this is a part of the duct system. Okay, we have talked about the testis, scrotum, and now we are talking about the third part of the reproductive system, which is also a part of the duct system. It is known as the vasa efferentia. Now the rete testis is connected to the epididymis through a fine tubule known as the vasa efferentia, and this helps in the conduction of the sperms. Now what is epididymis? So they are long tubules which lie compacted along the testis from the upper ends to the lower back side. Now its walls are muscular and glandular to provide or to secrete nutritive fluids which provide nourishment to the sperms. Okay, this is clear. So the walls are quite muscular and the glandular, what is the role? And they secrete the nutritive fluids from which the sperms acquire the nutrition. The next is vasa deferens. Okay, so the vasa efferentia from epididymal duct, it finally opens into the vasa or the vas deferens. Okay, now it comes out through inguinal canal passing over the urinary bladder to receive ducts from the seminal vesicles, and they are thick-walled and muscular, and they also conduct the sperms. Clear? Now let's talk about the ejaculatory duct. So ejaculatory duct, so these are short, straight, muscular tubes, each formed by the union of the vasa deferens and the duct of the seminal vesicles. Okay, so ejaculatory duct, what is? It is the union of. Okay, so here two, you can say ducts are combining together, and which two ducts? So it is the union of the vasa deferens or vas deferens and the ducts of the seminal vesicles. Clear? Now next is the urethra. What is urethra? It arises from the urinary bladder and forms a urinogenital canal. So in the males, you can see the sperms, okay, and the urine, they are released through a common opening known as the urethra. Okay, while in females it is different, but in males, okay, males have a common opening for the release of sperms as well as the urine. So this is known as the urinogenital canal. Okay, and commonly it is called the urethra. Now it carries urine as well as the sperms and the secretion of seminal vesicle, prostate and the Kopler's gland. Clear? So this is the role of the urethra. So you must have talked about urethra when you must be studying about the excretory system. Okay, excretory system consists of the two kidneys, and from the kidneys ureters arise. Okay, and then the ureters, okay, they form the or they merge into a common sac known as the urinary bladder, and the urinary bladder at the end consists of the small opening known as the urethra. Okay, this is clear. So we can draw a diagram of if we draw the diagram of the excretory system of the humans. So these are the pair of kidneys, and from the kidneys what will arise? Ureter. So these are the ureters, okay, which will deposit all its contents into the urinary bladder. So in the urinary bladder, urine is stored for some time, and at the end of the urinary bladder there is an opening, and this opening is known as the urethra. Okay, and this is known as the urinogenital canal, through which the urine, sperm and the secretion of seminal vesicle, prostate and Kopler glands, they exit out of the body. So this was the duct system present in the male reproductive organ. Okay, and what was the role of the duct system? For the transfer as the delivery of the sperms, okay, from the testes to the external of the body. Clear? So this is very important, the transfer of the sperms. Otherwise there will be no fertilization, because what happens during the process of copulation, the sperms, they are released in the female body. So this is known as the copulation. So this duct system is very important for the transfer of the male gamete. Alright, so in this lecture, what we have studied, we were talking about the male reproductive organs. Okay, so we studied about the primary sex organ as well as the secondary sex organ, and we also studied about some of the terms such as puberty and the secondary sexual characteristic. Okay, so the male and the female, they can be differentiated on the basis of secondary sexual characteristic, and we have also talked about some of the sex hormones. Okay, so sex hormones, or the examples of sex hormones, can be estrogen or the testosterone, and they give either the male characters or the female secondary sexual characters, or you can say they help in the growth and the development of the male secondary sexual characters or female secondary characters. Clear? So this was the end of this session. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll meet again in the next session. Thank you very much for listening.